us into the unknown. Join us on a journey that will open your eyes and push the boundaries of your imagination. Ghostly figures, beasts of Dartmoor, aliens, and timeless legends. This is Haunted Devon on Soundart Radio 102.5 FM. Good evening, and you're listening to Haunted Devon on Soundart 102.5 FM. Unfortunately, we've had a myriad of technical difficulties just before we started the show, haven't we, Martin?
We have, and indeed, while that song was playing out, we was having some technical difficulties as well, which you might well have heard.
I couldn't get the mics to go up. I had both the mic levels down, but for some reason it was still...
Playing out the sounds that was coming out from here in the studio.
Yeah, so okay.
Strange.
That was a bit of a weird one. Right, we're going to go straight across now to Patty Greer. We've got a better line of connection now. As I said, technical difficulty. But that is the joy of broadcasting live, isn't it?
Indeed it is.
There we go. Hello, Patty Greer, are you there?
I am here. It's, I guess it's a compliment when we have these technical difficulties, isn't it?
It is a bit. I mean, we had them the other week when we were talking to Mike Freebury about the animal mutilation cases that took place over Dartmoor a couple of years back, and for the first time ever, we actually got cut off from Skype, didn't we, Martin?
Yes, as he was talking about major projects that he's now currently involved with. For some bizarre reason, the Skype connection completely cut out. There was no reason for it at all. We just could not figure out why it would do that. But as we get to the really interesting stuff, Skype starts playing funny with us.
It does, yes. And that has actually happened before when we were talking about our Wiltshire show. We actually lost the internet connection when we were getting nitty-gritty to that close encounter we had.
Yes. But maybe we'll talk more about that with Patty
later in the show. Yes, we will, later in the show. Now, recently, well, very, very recently, you've literally just come back from the International UFO Congress Conference in America, and I know you have lots to talk about regarding that. How did it all go?
Well, it was absolutely amazing. You know, I've gone, you don't know, but I know I've gone the last 6 years. And I've brought a UFO documentary for the last 5 years. This is my first year going empty-handed, and it was so much fun to just play and be able to really get to know all of my colleagues. So it was a different experience where I wasn't competing. I was just savoring my time. And it is really like a family of people. You know, the international UFO community of serious researchers, we all meet at this one resort for a week. Can you imagine 800 UFO researchers and speakers from around the world in one hotel for 6 days?
The brightest minds in the world lighting up the sky, what can I say?
Oh, God, I feel so honored to be a part of it, I really do.
Okay, yeah, that's how. So it went on for 6 days. Whereabouts in America again was the conference taking place?
This one was at a resort just outside of Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, classic place, of course, because of the Phoenix lights from 1997.
Right.
That's a great venue there to do a UFO conference.
Oh, God, it was marvelous. And people came in from Canada, Australia, South Africa, Italy, France, Belgium, a lot of people from England. It's a really great community and a lot of regulars. We always have the granddaddies of ufology. You know, it really is a family event. And there were a lot of common themes this year that I hadn't seen before. Now that we've lived through the 2012 threat, right?
we all survived it, didn't we?
We did, yes. Either that or having one major out-of-body experience.
It was kind of like Y2K all over again.
It was, yeah. But with the interesting thing about that is what we found out the latter part of the year with a guest we had on was us joining the Milky Way galaxy and leaving the Sagittarius Dwarf galaxy, which, as many people probably scratching their heads going, well, haven't we always been part of the Milky Way?
Yes,
But
that was a huge learning curve for me.
That was
Finding out we was only ever on the fringe and never totally in it until 2012, where our solar system finally did move into the Milky Way galaxy.
which has massive implications for our consciousness, awakening of our DNA, moving from the 3D up into the 5 and 6 dimensional planes. So, well, hey, get in there.
Dive in. Well, yeah, and you know, the ETs have been playing humans for so many years, you know, since the 40s that we know of and have plenty of proof. But needless to say, since the beginning of woman and mankind, we have had ET interactions because we do believe they've been here a lot longer than us.
Oh, definitely.
And that they exist in so many different galaxies. And now we know how many more. And of course, in a year, we're going to know that there are even more. It's all disclosure. The dominoes are tumbling. Everything is coming out. And people are really having fun with it. You know, I think that all of us in this study now realize that we are the pioneers of the new paradigm.
We are definitely indeed. And it is an exciting time to be living in, a very historical and magical time. I definitely think big things are on the horizon.
Oh yeah, let's hope so. And one thing I'm really intrigued to know, Patty, is what did you come away from the conference where you thought, wow, that was an amazing talk, or what did you learn? What was your most amazing sort of like revelations that you learned from this year's conference?
Well, I did have some amazing revelations.
Bearing in mind we've only got an hour and 10 minutes left.
We're going to run over.
We're going to overrun probably, but what the heck?
Nuclear physicist Stanton Friedman laid out the 4 rules for debunkers, how to recognize the people that are straight up with you and when to just give up and say, well, there you have it. The 4 rules are, number 1, what the public doesn't know, I'm not going to tell them.
Well, yeah, that's about right.
Number 2, don't bother me with the facts, my mind's made up. Number 3, if you can't attack the data, attack the people. It's a whole lot easier. And number 4, do your research by proclamation. Investigation is too much trouble and nobody will know the difference anyway. That's Stanton Friedman, who won the Lifetime Achievement Award this year at the International UFO Congress. And basically he would lay out all kinds of things that have been discussed by the government, and he'd lean forward on the podium and he'd say, it's a downright lie. I mean, he was just so intense and up front, and this is a man who's probably in his 70s or 80s. And
he is the true granddaddy of ufology, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's been in forever, and he's got the respect of everyone. He's been on everybody's TV show, from Anderson Cooper, you know, all of them that were willing to discuss it. He's been on their show repeatedly. Another man was there, Ben Hansen, who is the host of an American TV show called Fact or Fake.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
And he began the whole event by shedding light on the difference between real researchers, such as us in the field there, and the debunkers or plants in the audience at the International UFO Congress. And he laid it out really interesting about, you know, you can tell the people that are enthused, you know the difference, but he gave us all a head up, which was really an interesting way to begin the event. And then Barbara Lamb, who's done more than a couple thousand sessions with ET contactees and done regressions on them about their experiences, and she's the queen of the phenomenon of human abduction by alien life forms and hybridization. She just totally took it over the top, coming up with things that have been experienced repeatedly by many people. I think the most astounding one to me was that even if a woman, you know, this is too over the top.
Go for it.
Okay, we were talking about the fact that women's eggs are being taken on the ship, and then they're returned, men's sperm is being taken, and then they're returned to Earth. But there's also women that said, well, I've already been past menopause, and so they wouldn't be interested in me. And Barbara Lamb said, no, actually the ETs are growing the fetuses in these special sacs, which can also be inside a woman at any age. I mean, really, that they're so advanced that they can hybridize their genes with our genes to the point of a woman doesn't even have to have reproductive organs. That's how much of our DNA and chemical understanding they have. That's why they've been doing this study so long. But my favorite fact was when, first thing in the morning, we have what's called the experiencer circles. It was led by either Leo Sprinkle or Barbara Lamb. And the first woman opened up by saying, I've had these horrible experiences. And she really talked about just grueling situations. And so right after her, I raised my hand and I said, I'm not going to talk about my experiences at this time, but I'm curious because I interview a lot of people that have had ET experiences. I don't like the word abductions, so I like to say experiences. And I've interviewed so many at this point that I feel like there's a consensus that we're not having grueling abduction experiences with probing and cutting through the skin and all that anymore. It's more about tweaking the implants that they planted in us when they were doing all those. And really what we're hearing is that, for instance, Barbara Lamb did a regression with somebody just the first night of the event. And what that person said was that he had had a probing that was extremely uncomfortable, so she took him back to the experience and asked him to ask the ETs why they did that to him. And they said it was the best way to read his entire systems in one procedure that was the simplest. And he said, why did you do it to me? And their answer was, because you are important.
Well, I've met Barbara Lamb several times in the crop circles over many years. She did a reading on me because obviously, as you're aware, she does hypnotherapy as well. An amazing woman, and she again has such fantastic insights into the crop circle phenomena, as I know you have, and obviously we're going to come on to the crop circle phenomena shortly. This whole, I know I too don't like the abduction scenario, and it's something that's really put me off. It's the whole area of ufology that has put me off for many years, and it's something I never ever went near. I dabbled in it and I then stayed clear of it because I thought it was an absolute load of nonsense. However, some more recent books that I have read has really opened my eyes to the experience that the so-called abductee, and I too don't like that word, the experiencer has had, and it's very real to them. But one thing that I've always felt here that is actually going on is that it's something that's happening on a spiritual level or on an astral level rather than on a physical level. So that's why I'm intrigued to hear what you have to say about this, bearing in mind what Barbara Lamb talked about how women's ovaries have been taken, and obviously how would I get my head around that fact of how is that done if it can only be done on an astral level. Now, just hear me out just one little bit further. The reason why I'm talking about I believe it only ever happens on an astral level is because throughout the entire history of alien abductions, not one individual has ever seen somebody being abducted out through their house and on board to a UFO, except for one incident only, and that took place in 1989 underneath Manhattan Bridge. And the eyewitness who saw it happen just so happens to be a high-ranking military commander. That to me makes that particular case scenario very dubious. But the whole thing itself, you can understand why a skeptic would call all this into question. And what would you say back to the skeptic that says, abductions, what a load of nonsense, where's the evidence? What would you say back to them?
Well, I did not use great discernment because you said to me, what was the most extreme thing you heard at the event? You said, what was the most unusual that you took away?
Yes.
I was so automatic. I told you I barely slept for 6 days because the event goes on from morning till night.
Yeah.
So it was a really honest answer. To me, that was most shocking. But really, the way Barbara Lamb lays it out, and I'm glad you know her because she is lovely.
Oh, she is. Yeah.
She's like this little sugar-coated granny who gets up on stage, but she laid it out, Martin, so magnificently that I shouldn't have gone to the punchline of, oh my godness. You know, really, there was so much beautiful explanation of all
the build up to it. Then obviously, perhaps we as listeners out here, we need to perhaps appreciate the build up to this amazing revelation.
Well, you know, I think because of the 2012 thing got me going, wow, time is slipping away. We really got to get to it. My movie called...
Always does.
We always overrun on this show.
Right. Well, the Crop Circle's 2010 update, the Wake Up Call movie, that's on my website, pattygreer.com. But that movie, I literally put the most astounding moment in the first 3 minutes, and I showed it 3 times because I really believe in dessert first in case there's an earthquake. I really believe that we've been sitting long enough, we're getting so lackadaisical as a species that I'm a very upfront person, as you can probably tell. And now, watch out public, I'm going public with speaking rather than just being behind the camera making movies. Making movies was so expensive for me, and it was the most fantastic experience of my life because I get to share with the public these experiences. And it's not about me. It's just that my life had been somehow, obviously, don't we come in with the previous plan and agreement to do these most amazing things like your show that goes out across the world?
That's right, yeah.
Crop circles, yeah. And the fact that you went in the crop circles and had an outstanding experience is the difference between believing and knowing.
I mean, definitely. I mean, on this show, it's not about myself or Martin. It's about the knowledge that other people are bringing to the world, and we're trying to get that knowledge out there. As well as doing that, we are definite firm believers of not just sitting back and listening, but actually going out and doing as well and experience these things firsthand, so we can have some sort of an understanding and knowing about what's going on out there.
That's excellent. And you did say to me before we started the show that you and Martin had an experience in a crop circle this summer that put you in a new category. And again, I'm going to repeat, this was the biggest line of the event for me. They said, we have now moved into knowing rather than believing.
Yes, definitely. Most definitely. I don't know what I know at this precise moment in time because I'm still trying to really get my head around that experience, as is Martin, I believe.
I mean, I've been going into crop circles since 1991, and as I said at the start of this show, what me and Abbie experienced last August in Wiltshire was absolutely mind-blowing. It wasn't just a case of the close encounter UFO that we managed to get on film as well. Twice, yeah. It was, before all that, the build-up before that was just unbelievable because we were sitting in a crop circle just on the edge of the Avebury Stone Circle, which I know you're going to be very familiar with, Patty. And we saw this very tall being, you did.
Yes.
I saw another being shortly after. Just a very tall being that you saw standing at the edge of the crop circle.
He was about 7-8 foot tall.
You describe it as perhaps non-human.
It was like wearing a black robe, and all I could see were these a white face with these intense eyes. And to be quite honest, it did unnerve me at the time, and we kind of skedaddled out of that area, and then it kind of snowballed from there.
We finished our night watch there, and we moved out, and then that's when I saw my apparition next to one of the standing stones. And then everything just spiraled out of control from there. We sat outside the pub, the Red Line pub, obviously in the heart of the Stone Circle. We saw 20 police cars zooming past with their lights flashing. I've been crop circling in Wiltshire for 20 years. I've never ever seen one police car with their lights flashing. To see 20 of them suddenly go whizzing past, I said to Abbie, right, we need to follow them. Something big is going on. We followed them, and then it just went off on a completely different scale. We probably haven't got enough time to talk about that now.
But I tell you,
to talk about your experience.
We can send. We did do a show on that, and we can send you the podcast of that one. So,
yes.
and I'm hoping to get the video done as well. But it's a case of, getting the right equipment to edit it and all the rest of it, because I want to make a good documentary about this with all the footage and everything that we've got. It's just wanting to do it right and getting it right, if that makes any sense.
So before we move off from the UFO conference, then, is there anything else you want to add, Patty, regarding the UFO conference before we move on to the crop circle phenomena?
Well, I'll just throw out that Jaime Maussan, who does the 60 Minutes show in Mexico, showed the top UFO sightings of 2012, and there were so many unbelievably outstanding ones that we almost forgot. It's like it's almost becoming commonplace. You know, like the oil spills, like we let it go, like the huge amounts of birds falling from the sky, and the fish that are coming up on shore. We let it go. We're so busy, like with Kim Kardashian's new boots.
That's it. Stay asleep and watch the telly. Now, before you became involved in the crop circle phenomena, did you have any experiences throughout your life that were out of this world or paranormal?
Oh, absolutely. I've been doing rituals since I was 7 years old. I was one of those little girls. And, you know, just, I was never religious. I don't go there. And I was straight A's in school, but D in history. I've always had a hard time with human bad behavior, and so I've never really had any patience for it. But never did I have so many rude awakenings to humans, naughty humans, until the last bunch of years. What got me to go to the crop circles was that I got poisoned.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I got poisoned in 2004 by a dentist who put mercury fillings in my teeth instead of what we had agreed on. And within less than a year, I lost the use of my hands.
Oh, my God.
I had big cutting open sores all over my fingertips. And what I did for a living was I was a harpist and a pianist, singer-songwriter for 33 years. So it kind of took the buzz out of my lifelong career, as well as dating or touching fruit at the grocery store or the simplest things as shaking hands. That was a thing of the past for the last 7.5 years. Talk about surrender. I was in surrender.
Yeah, I mean, the dangers of mercury, I can't believe dentists are still using them, to be quite honest. Well, yes, I can actually, in this, knowing what I know about the world, but it's just absolutely mind-bogglingly insane why anyone would want to get a mercury filling. I mean, I know they come free on the NHS here in the UK, and you have to actually pay extra if you want a non-mercury filling, which is totally wrong, but going totally off topic on there. Excuse me.
It's 50% mercury, 25% silver, and the other 25 is other toxic lead, tin, or copper, or a combination of the three.
So lots of heavy metals going into the system there.
Totally uncalled for, should be illegal, but again, that's another show, isn't it?
That is another show. I mean, we could spend an hour just talking about that, to be quite honest with you, Patty.
I've listened to a few shows, but it's not a waste, because what happened to me didn't need to happen, and I like to give people the solution, which took me 7 years to get to. My doctors gave me the wrong blood test for 7 years. I finally found the right blood test myself. And if anybody has a mouthful of silver fillings and they want the right blood test, you are across the world, but I bet there's a way that you can get in touch with these people. It's called QuicksilverScientific.com. QuicksilverScientific.com. I took the time because it's worth it. A lot of people are really suffering, and your doctor will not tell you. In our country, they could lose their license, for being honest. Anyway, I lived. I'm so lucky. But my desperation to heal, I gave up on humans. And some friends of mine had just come back from England, and they were in the crop circles. And I was like, hey, how are you? I haven't seen you. Oh, my God, what is different about you? And I could just see it. You know, and it was like that movie where she said, I want what they're having because the girl's making all the noise at the restaurant table.
It is like that. I mean, people have commented about it from me when I came back from Wiltshire. You just come back completely changed. You don't know what it is that's changed about you, but it's like you kind of like come back like the Ready Breck Man. You're glowing.
You're glowing. And they were so shifted. That I mean, and I'm intuitive that way, so I couldn't even talk. I just stopped talking and went, what did you do? 6 weeks later, I flew to England for the first time in 2006. And then I had a taste of it, but I knew I needed to come back next season for more. So in 2007 and 2008, I went by myself, paying for B&Bs, oh my God, 9 weeks in a row. I flew in those helicopters twice a week. Girl, I didn't know anything about making movies. It was never a plan of mine. But when I lay down in a particular crop circle in 2007, it was right at the beginning of summer, when I went there with the intention of really not getting out of the crop circles all summer. My first experience, a warm, beautiful day, I nestled into the wheat and passed out. I was alone because I hardly knew anybody. And when I came to or woke up, my face was really tight, like sunburned, which so many people report. And I was laying on my back, opened my eyes, and there was like a swarm of mosquitoes that were coming to a vortex right at the tip of my nose. And I took my hand and I swished and swished. And as soon as they dissipated, I saw for the first time in my life these round things all through the sky everywhere. And I've seen them ever since. It's
Now I've obviously read and heard about your experience here from, is it June 2007, isn't it? It's an amazing experience that you had. And obviously I want you now, if you can, describe to our listeners the best details that you can, the colours of these lights, and exactly what it was you saw here. It's an amazing experience you had.
Well, I didn't see the lights in this experience. What I saw was something that I believed was plasma. And it's interesting because just yesterday when a man was driving me to the airport, I said, pull over. And he said, why? And I said, just pull over on the side of the highway. I got to show you this before I fly home. So the man pulls over, and I said, we got out of the car, and I wrapped my hands around our eyes to block the sun left and right, and I showed him what I could see. And I got to tell you, Martin, everybody can see this. And I'm going to give you, can I give you a quick explanation of how to see these things? Because everybody,
sure. Brilliant.
Yeah.
if you take the time, you will see it. And I astound people with their ability because you have no idea, but all you have to do is look. Go outside, do not look into the sun, look into the blue of the sky, and you can see it in front of the clouds, but if you take your hands like goggles around the sides of your eyes and then look up to the sky and go into a slight stare, the first thing you'll see are those little white glints that leave a little trail.
Yeah.
Have you seen those?
Yes, I have, yeah.
Okay, they're easy to see. So many people do, and of course the analysts will say, those are, dust in your eyelids or dust in your eyeballs or dust in your brain, whatever. But ignore that.
There's dust in their brain.
Dust in their brain. And you just got to stay with it. Really watch the little white glints because they take you into that next dimension. We're moving from third to fifth, like you were saying. So it's like allowing your eyes to really see what is right there to be seen. So if you focus on those white glints and then you notice that they leave a little trail, all of a sudden, if you relax and stare a little bit more, you will most likely be able to see these round, whatever they are, and they move again with very clear movement, and they look like the consistency of a jellyfish. You can see through them. They have no color, but there is an outside circle and an inside circle, the same shape as a donut or a bagel. There's two circles within the other. Many of them, most are all clear on the outside circle, and on the inside circle, some are dark, some are light. In England, I swear to God, because I sketched them, the third day, I saw them with a sack of eggs attached to the outside circle.
Wow.
I'm sure of it. I sketched it. So in America, I've never seen eggs. In Australia, I saw these flying things. There's another form that you can see a lot, and again, you're just relaxing your eyes. They're in a shape of like a curvy snake, but again, they're see-through like the jellyfish, but you can see the outer form. When people get outside and see these things, you will be so excited. And it doesn't cost anything, and it's everywhere you go. And it will change your life when you can see that the veil has fallen and that we can see this other dimension with our bare eyes. We can take photos, if we're lucky, of orbs many times and illuminated forms, coming from different directions, which some people will say lens flares, whatever, go enjoy yourself with your debunking. But I think that we really are capable of seeing this now. So next time you guys go outside, when you see them, drop me an email and let me know, because it's really exciting.
Well, this is something I've kind of experienced, and I was actually saying it the other day when I was in Tintagel doing an investigation for Haunted Devon. We'd just been to the Hall of Chivalry in there, which is this amazing granite building that was purposely built harmonically to basically charge you and open you up. After coming out there, and I've experienced this before at Lupton House, my eyes, it went staticky, like I could see static in the air, like when you tune your telly into nothing. And then almost like, the only way to describe it is waves over the ocean. And there was like a layer across what I was seeing, but it was all wavy, if there was like vibrations and ripples going through it. And I could see it very, very clearly. But yet I was aware that the background was still everything that I could see. So it was kind of like this film over the world, or I was seeing into the energy of the world and the area around me.
Amen, sister.
I have experience. I can always. I said it to you in Wiltshire, didn't I? Because all my eyes are going funny again.
That's right. And
I saw the energy. Saw the energy around the crop circles and that, didn't I? In that dome on Windmill Hill.
Yeah, and again, it's probably a subject we'll talk about perhaps a little bit later. Is
yes,
the
that
balls
is
of
right.
light.
I think we have some questions coming from the listeners, haven't we, Martin?
Yeah, there's a few things here. Well, one from John Parr. Hello, John, if you're
Hi,
listening
John.
to the show tonight. I'll throw this one at you, Patty. He says, specifically about the crop circles, how can such symmetry be achieved from ground level? What's your answer to that one?
Yeah,
No, you've got to bear in mind that perhaps he's thinking from the perspective where, I don't know how it is in America, but unfortunately, Patty, the masses over here in the UK have been brainwashed into accepting that all crop circles are man-made.
It's Doug and Dave with a board after some scrumpy cider, apparently.
If it's true that Doug and Dave made all 150 or 170 crop circles every summer in England, they traveled at the speed of light, because they also made 40 to 60 in Holland, Belgium, and France.
And they're quite old as well, so they're very sprite for their age, I must admit.
That's right, but they have to be hybrid, because no human can pull that off. So that's awesome. Those guys are really talented.
They are indeed. I mean, you can tell between a man-made circle and a genuine one. I mean, not just going into the biochemical changes in the plants and the soil and the nodes bending and the microwave energy that's inside. It's kind of like been heated from the inside out. All that has been scientifically proven time and time and time again. But it's the energy. You can go into a man-made circle and it just like, oh, that's a nice little pretty formation.
Yeah,
you
but it feels flat.
It just feels flat. You go into
the genuine non-man-made formations,
Gee
the energy
whiz.
is just completely different.
It hits you like a ton of bricks. It really does hit, and even the most hardened skeptic, I would literally do like like the DAS test they have. Try DAS; it's much better than the regular. I would go and do a DAS doorstep challenge on crop circles. Take them to a man-made circle, and then take them to a genuine formation, and they will be able to feel the difference for themselves. The most hardened skeptics, the most people that say I'm psychic as a brick, it doesn't matter. It will just open every one of your senses, and I'm not just talking about the 5 senses that you're aware of. I'm talking about all of them.
Yes.
I'm sure you've felt this yourself, Patty, many times. The energy in the non-human circles.
Yes, and that's a lot more interesting subject, but we want to honor this man's question, which is...
Yes, sorry. How can such symmetry be achieved from ground level?
Well,
over to you.
The only thing that I've talked to a few builders, professional house builders that build mega $1 million homes in America, and all of them have told me that a 2.5 acre crop circle with 160 flawless circles and perfect centerpieces would take weeks for their professional teams to stake out. So the fact that there's only 3 to 4 to 5 hours of darkness during the night and people everywhere in this area all summer long, I don't think it's humanly possible for them to really be pulling this off from the ground with sticks and ropes and boards. Yes, many of them have been filming themselves and very proud of it. But I'll tell you, my favorite story about the debunkers is the night that I had a really long day in the crop circles and went alone for soup at 10:30. The only place I could find was the Black Horse in Wiltshire.
Yeah.
And so I sat down there and I'm absolutely exhausted. And in come these three guys and they kicked the door when they came in. And one guy was soaked from head to toe. And the other two were laughing, holding their stomachs, doubling over. They ordered 2 beers each, one for each hand, and sat at the table behind me. So I thought I was in for a hellish cup of soup. But when I heard what they were talking about, it was heaven. They had just been making a crop circle, measuring it out as this questioner questioned, and a ball of light, a real circle maker, whizzed past them, and the one guy wet his pants, and all 3 of them went screaming out of the crop circle and directly into the bar.
Absolutely.
Again, I've heard stories time and time again of crop circle hoaxers going into formations and they see tall shadows looming over them, watching them. And again, another crop circle team back in 1991 drove to a location. They kept it to themselves, just the 4 of them, as to what pattern they was going to lay down into which location. They drove to that location, and there was that very formation. The very formation they was going to etch out in the exact location that they was going to etch it out in. 2 of those crop circle hoaxers walked away from the entire phenomena, realised that they were up against something truly mysterious. And that's going right back to 1991.
That is going. But you often find this. I mean, these crop circle hoaxers, or the people that do it as part of commissions for companies and stuff like that, and go out and create these crop circles, man-made crop circles, that is, they often get scared away by these tall, hooded, dark figures with these intense eyes. The same thing that I saw back in Wiltshire that I didn't realise was part of the phenomenon. I just thought it was. At the time, I thought it was a ghost to do with Aylesbury. I didn't realise that it was connected to the crop circles until I'd actually said to Martin what I saw.
Well, I've never seen anything of the kind, so I can't really reply, but for me, I'm so open to the fact that the experience you had, nobody will ever fully be able to tell you it didn't happen, because it did.
Well, they could put me under blinking torture and pull me fingernails off one by one, but it still happened. It still happened.
But the point is, though, Abbie, is that there are scientists out there that will try and convince you that none of that ever happened.
I had to take
There's no way. Go on, Paddy.
The face at the event I just went to, where the head of the event came up to me and said, there's not a real crop circle in the world. They're all made by humans. And because I've had so many years, and I am not a believer, I am a knower. I've been in more than 100 crop circles myself, and I have been there 6 different years in a row, skipping 2007. 2009 was the one I skipped. But I've been in enough crop circles that it's not like somebody can say anything that's going to change my experience. But the difference is that I really like we were talking about, people won't get the message or see the image until they're ready.
That is very true.
And there's something about grace and etiquette with the UFO awareness, which is we don't want to scare people. We don't want to push people. But the most marvelous thing about the crop circle patterns, most of them have symmetry. Most of them are sacred geometry, unless they are a planetary layout or an owl.
Or the binary code.
Yes. We have so many pictograms, which those are, or code messages, that many of them are sacred geometry, which is for the more relaxed information to get in, because what we believe is that the message goes in on a subconscious level to all humans looking at the picture.
That is true.
So
I mean,
if you
oh, go on, sorry.
you're going to take it in on a subconscious level at the frequency and vibration that you can personally resonate with. So 6 people will be looking at one image, and there will be 6 different interpretations, and my answer is, you are all correct. We'll see exactly what it is that you see from that crop circle. They are really divinely guiding some humans to go out there and make them, because they want it to be a softer delivery to humanity that, okay, there's humans that are doing it. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of petting the kitty, going, let's give it to them softly, and then throw them down some real ones that are just not human-made at all. And they're all real. Even the ones that are just sloppy ones by humans, they are real for those people. But the ones that are really being delivered by higher dimensional forces, there's been many, many, many of them over the years, hundreds of years they've been seeing crop circles. So I want to mention something really impressive, which is that this year alone, 2012, in England, which is the #1 location that the circle makers seem to like, they had 69 crop circles alone. 56 others were documented in, check this out, Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, Italy, Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic, Iran, Slovakia, France, Netherlands, Latvia, Poland, Macedonia, Germany, Switzerland, Norway, Belgium, USA, Denmark, and Australia.
Wow.
Do you hear about these?
Yes, we, Martin it kept us updated with the crop circles of 2012. And it was a big year, wasn't it? It was an amazing year, amazing formations.
The good thing is, as Patty has mentioned there, is that last year, 2012, they did seem to be truly global, whereas in previous years, the vast majority always seemed to be focused in the counties of southern England. But last year, so many countries had the crop circle phenomena, and many countries for the first time ever. So that was really good, in that it's becoming a much more global phenomena now.
It is. I mean, a lot of them don't get reported because either they're cut out as soon as they've appeared, before the planes have gone up, or the helicopters, and before they've gone in the silent circle, or the barge, which updates as well, the barge in. So there was a few that were
cut out. We do know of some intelligence agencies that have been going in literally the morning of a freshly laid crop circle and have been cutting it out with or without the permission of the farmer.
Well, we saw one being formed last year, didn't we, by Silbury Hill? And the helicopters came over straight away. We skedaddled out the area. We went back early the next morning, and there was a perfect square cut out.
This was amazing, Patty, that whole weekend, what we experienced. I mean, after everything that we encountered, to top it all off, this is like 2 o'clock in the morning, again, just outside of Avebury. We went back to Avebury. We saw these balls of light going across the top of a hedge. And they were like silvery lights, weren't they?
Yeah, they were dancing.
Then I was looking towards Silbury Hill. Abbie then saw this brilliant white beam of light shoot up into the air, coming out of the crop field, where there was no crop circle.
No.
About midday, the following day on a Sunday, we drove to that spot, and there was a cut-out patch within the crop field.
With the exact area where we saw these lights and these
and the white beam of light shoot up.
Flying around.
Again, it was just an amazing weekend. It was just one thing after another.
It was. Hang on, I've got another question come through here. What can you tell us about the creation of crop circles, and have you witnessed any evidence regarding their construction?
Awesome question. My first film was after I laid in that crop circle, got taken, came back, and started taking a ridiculous amount of photos. Throughout the summer, I began flying in those little planes, and I did things that I would have never done if I had been sane. And I ended up with 1,100 photos.
My word.
I know, one little Instamatic camera. And then I went to the Glastonbury Symposium, which is the Crop Circle Symposium. And I realized that I knew all the speakers because I've been hanging out with them all summer in the crop circles. So they had this wonderful team of guys filming the event. So I hired the team for no apparent reason. to meet me in Wiltshire and interview me and my friends in the crop circles. I came home with that footage and 1,100 photos, and without blinking, completed a full feature film with no training or experience.
Oh, wow.
In 6 months.
Wow. I mean, obviously you were meant to do that. That was that was laid out there for you to do, and otherwise it wouldn't have been that easy. Well, I'm not saying it was easy, but the synchronicities in life and the path that we have, whether we choose to go down it or not, is laid out for us. So obviously you are on the right path on what you are doing.
You got it, Abbie. Thank you. I bring home the footage, and I had permission from Bert Janssen and Janet Osebard. They had done a movie called Contact, and they had the original footage of the 1996 Oliver's Castle footage, where 2 balls of light lay the crop circle down in seconds. You both know it well.
Yes.
Yeah, we know the one.
Your audience knows it well. Okay, so it's gone across the world. Half the world says it's fake. The other half says it's real. But then somebody has proven it's fake, and all this, and the secret detectives, and, they've all proven it's real, and you can go home, go back to sleep now. So I come home with this footage, and I'm telling you, I did no research. I did not watch other people's movies. I went to the crop circles to heal my hands.
Yeah.
Spread my arms open, and they nailed me. Whoever these marvelous beings are, they just nailed me. And next thing I knew everything about the crop circles. And I don't mean everything, but just what's real and elemental. I knew the basics. I didn't know the history of who's done what, or who said what about what. All I know is I'm in the circle, and when you're laying down on your back and rolling over, you kind of dig through the wheat, and it's either stepped on and broken by the boards and ropes, or there are these blown bubbles, which are bent nodes, which shows some kind of either a microwave, which I don't imagine there's an oven that big, or some kind of a rave from some satellite where they're making crop circles. I don't know. I have never seen anything of the kind, and I hope I'm never standing under one. But whatever is hitting the wheat is hitting it instantly and fully to the point where everything falls, swirls down from a center point in divine perfection without a hair out of place. It's so immaculate.
And some of these have got woven and braided centerpieces and throughout the crop that are so intricate that it would take someone months to do by hand, let alone laid down within a matter of minutes or seconds.
You guys are so lucky. You've been going since the 90s, and it's around the corner from you.
2.5 hour drive, and we're in the heart of Wiltshire.
Oh, I don't know, saying that, we've had some good ones in the area. You said there's some in Berry Pomeroy
Yes, we've
Castle.
had some at Berry Pomeroy Castle.
Which
We've
is
had
another
some in
strange
southeast
place.
Cornwall. We had some amazing ones in southeast Cornwall. Again, it almost feels like a different energy to the genuine ones in Wiltshire. A different feel to it. But going right back to 1991, we were one of the first ever groups that managed to capture a ball of light hovering over the direct centre point of one of the single crop circles. And it was like a plasma ball, a bluish ball, just hovering over the centre point. Unfortunately, I wasn't there on that particular night, but the rest of the Plymouth UFO research group, they were down the bottom end of the crop field, looking at the 3 crop circles that were in a triangular formation, and they were the only 3 in that field at that time. They appeared over some previous nights beforehand. As they walked back to the car after being in there for half an hour, there was a brand new crop circle which would have appeared in a matter of seconds. They literally walked right past the tram line that took them to where this brand new freshly laid crop circle was, and it formed while they was down the bottom end of the field looking at the other 3 crop circles. It was then that they actually got on film this blue plasma ball just hovering over the centre point of the crop circle, and this is going way back to 1991. And again, you hear people saying, "Oh no, they're all man-made," you know.
I mean, we've seen these plasma balls ourselves. We've seen orange ones, we've seen white ones, we've seen the beams of light that just light up the whole sky like some elaborate laser show from like a concert or something that would need generators and miles of cables going.
Yes. And I've been very fortunate again in 2001 one, two balls of light coming over Woodborough Hill. Myself and Bob Boyd both filmed it. It was at dusk, so it wasn't completely dark. And they come over into Eastfield. These are names that have been very familiar to you, of course, Patty. And as they come over towards Eastfield, we're at the bottom end of Eastfield, at the bottom of Walker's Hill, and we sensed that the balls of light were aware that we were filming them. So they come halfway up into Eastfield, and then they retreated backwards, back over Woodborough Hill and down the other side. And we both captured this on our camcorders. And then the amazing light show that we had last summer.
Well, it did. It came up the path to us, didn't we? And we actually retreated back because we felt like we were intruding, and then it just kind of like lit up the sky like there was no
Patty,
tomorrow.
Once we've got the film footage all edited, we will get this sent over to you, because it was an amazing UFO, real close encounter coming along the trackway up at Hackpen Hill. Are you familiar with that area just north of Avebury? You got Hackpen Hill. You got one of the chalk white horses etched out onto the landscape.
And you've got the castle at the back, haven't you? The old fort.
Barbary Castle, yeah. Very close to Barbary Castle.
You know, as far as being grown-ups going out to play, it doesn't get any better than this.
No,
it doesn't, does it?
No, it doesn't.
And that's why during all the winter months, I just long for the summer, just so I can get back out into Wiltshire, into the crop circles.
I was watching the film you made in 2007, The Wake Up Call Is Anybody Listening, earlier today, and looking at the landscape, and I was just going, I just want to go back. Can't we just get rid of this cold weather? Can't it be summer? I just want to go back to Wiltshire. I just want to go back to the crop circles and investigate. Come on, summer, where are you?
I'm so glad you watched the movie today. Thank you so much.
Oh, it was lovely. I really, really enjoyed it.
It's an amazing,
it is, and
documentary.
I can't wait to see the rest of them. To be honest, I really cannot wait to see the rest of them.
I urge all listeners out there to go out and get a copy of Wake Up Call. It's an amazing insight into the entire crop circle phenomena, and you interview so many amazing characters that are all there in the Wiltshire landscape, who have all got their own amazing stories to tell, amazing phenomena that they've experienced in the crop circles.
Again, one we're familiar with, Charles Mallet, who we did an amazing interview with, but of course, because of the dynamics of Wiltshire, that kind of got wiped off our recording equipment.
Yes. But thankfully, Patty, that didn't happen with you.
No.
You got the amazing interview with Charles Mallet on your documentary.
Going back to 2007, there was a cross formation that appeared. One of your friends that you interviewed, for the life of me, I can't remember his name, I do apologise. And they were looking up on historical pictures in a book, and they came across another pattern with 4 crosses going diagonally down a square. Now, they were discussing this for about 5 or 10 minutes, put the book away and thought nothing more of it. 2 days later, that same formation appeared in Wiltshire.
Yes, that was Bertie Janssen.
Ah, yes. Now, we were talking earlier about how it's not humans that are creating crop circles. Me and Martin had a similar experience again in Wiltshire, where I was wishing all weekend for a nice flower. I was like, they don't have to mean anything. Why can't I just have a nice flower formation? After going off on a major epic walk by myself for so many hours at Milk Hill. Was it Milk? Yeah, it was Milk Hill, wasn't it? Just as we left the area, a flower crop circle appeared there and then, that Sunday afternoon in that area. So with humans not creating crop circles physically, do you think we're helping to create them consciously via some form of two-way telepathic link with these higher entities and beings?
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you had that gift and confirmation. I had the most amazing answer to that, which is this experience. I did not go to England. And it kind of broke my heart because I love being in the crop circles every summer. But this summer, I needed to be here to get my films out and to really work on the promotion.
Yeah.
And you talked about the movies. I just want to mention to everybody, my website is pattygreer.com.
Yes, we do. We do have that up on the link to the radio show.
Lovely. Well, on YouTube, I now posted the first 15 minutes of all the movies. And because I believe in dessert first, I just tell everybody, go see it and enjoy the first 15 minutes. It will really take you into the phenomenon. And because you guys have been there since the 90s, and I've been there insanely since 2006, staying all summer and not missing a formation, you know, the audience, it's like everybody should go, but very few people get there.
It is a shame.
But when you give them, you know, a film that is really in the field and flying over to see the formations, it really is almost as good as being there without leaving your chair. And, you know, for us and for the circle makers, and I speak for them often, they want as many people as possible to see the formations and look into them. And if you remember the beginning 4 minutes of that movie, every time I watch it, I go, oh my God, I forgot to put a script in. I realized that no, it is all crop circles, one after another, after another. And it's like they made the movie. I just laid it out, came home. But what I was starting to tell you, and I have to finish this story because I do believe that this makes history. That Oliver's Castle footage from 1996, I got permission to use the original footage from Janet and Barrett. So I put it at the end of the movie, and I said, look, we're done, film finished, this is amazing. And all of a sudden, I got those physical feelings, and everything in me lit up. The goosebumps from head to toe, the tingling on the top of my head, this hair was standing up on my arms, and I said, oh my God, I feel like I'm in a crop circle. And I look at this poor young editor who knew nothing about crop circles, but he was a really cool guy. And I said, reverse the footage. He said, why? And I said, just do it. The Oliver's Castle footage. So he reverses it, and I said, slow it down. He said, how slow? And I said, I don't know, 30%. And we both sat back, and I went, ooh, not sure where that came from, but do it. So we reversed it, slowed it down, and bang! I said, lock the frame. Oh my God, there is this huge code between those two balls of light, and it's right there on the original footage, and I posted it at the end of the movie that you saw today.
Yes, that's right.
And then I put it in the very beginning 3 minutes of the Crop Circle Update, 2010 Update movie, because a lot of people missed it at the end of that one. It's an hour 20, and there's so much that you're almost overwhelmed. So this one, like I said, right in the front, in your face, 3 times. And I can't believe it that still the top researchers in the world of crop circles have looked at me and said, yeah, I saw your movie, I loved it. What do you mean you solved that Oliver's Castle footage? What you saw, Abbie,
Yeah.
did you find it convincing that there was the black, white, white, black, and it wasn't a skinny stripe, it was a band of communication, in my opinion, that went right between those two balls of light.
I'd have to look at it again and slow it down because it was like it was that fast that you're like, oh, hello, what's going on there before it moves on. But I will go back and have another look at that tonight. I believe, Martin, you have some questions online.
Yeah, I've got quite a few questions coming in, Patty. So I don't know what order we're going to take these in.
I'm never going to get through all the questions I've got.
What's the time now? It's now 10:40.
We're going over.
We're going to overrun,
going
Patty, if you don't mind, because we've got so many more things we do want to talk about with the crop circles. So there's a question here from Mark Woodall. Hi, Mark.
Hello, Mark.
Glad you're enjoying the show. He said, hi, guys. Is there any evidence that within the formations, the dimensions are geometrically accurate? Great show. So, I mean, I've got lots to say on that, but I'm going to throw this right over to you, Patty.
Well, I don't measure, and I don't bring in a magnetometer, and I don't do water samplings and dirt samplings. It's not the way I do it, but many people do. So that would not be something, but I have seen many people with their all their rigs for measuring and mapping. So yes, it's been done on a regular basis for many decades, and 3 decades for sure. That wouldn't be something I personally could say I'm any kind of an expert on, but I've seen people doing it almost a few times every year.
I mean, I know some researchers like Michael Glickman and there's many others that's studied the crop circle phenomena, and they have measured out with absolute precision with some of these crop circles, and you know, it's not a fraction out at all. It is absolutely immaculate.
Spot on.
The sacred geometry is just unbelievable, and they go to qualified architects and say, how would you go about etching this design out into a crop field? And they say back to them, we couldn't. As simple as that, we couldn't. that to me speaks volumes.
I mean, especially with some of these ones with fractals as well as
The
sacred
fractal,
geometry
yeah.
as well. You've got the ones that are emanating or representing frequency are immensely complex and accurate within not even a millimetre's worth of error. So
Again, the whole what you call fractal geometry is amazing. And I'm hoping at one stage in the future we're going to get a future guest on to talk about the golden mean ratio, which is an amazing phenomena. It encompasses pretty much everything across the entire cosmos.
well, you've had quite a few crop circles representing the Fibonacci sequence.
That's right.
and all of that, which
the
are
Julia set, the triple Julia set, it just goes on. The Mandelbrot set. Again, this is something hopefully we will cover in a future
again
show.
the Mandelbrot is going on again to fractals and
Again, yeah, that's right. There's another question coming through here, but I think it might be best if we summarise this up for the end. Again,
Right.
It's from John Parr. It's basic. Well, I'll throw it into you now, but I don't want an answer now. Perhaps we can keep it towards the end. And that is, so why do they do it? What is the reason for it? But I think that's really a question we should summarise on towards the end of the show.
Yes, we'll save that one. I have one though. Hang on, if I can find the right bit of paper. In relationship to crop circles and ley lines and ancient sites, how often are these crop circles appearing at such energy spots on the Earth?
97% of the crop circles are sitting on a ley line, and more than half of them are sitting at a cross section of two ley lines. PowerPoint Deluxe. Almost all of them, they say 96%, and this was a few years ago, are sitting around the world, are sitting over an aquifer of water. And we know that under this area is the largest chalk aquifer in the world.
Yes.
My opinion of the reason that the crop circles are in Wiltshire, England, more than anywhere else on the planet, and Abbie, you brought up a really interesting point, which is documented. You know, there could be hundreds of them a summer in Africa, but no little planes flying over with people having the luxury of, mapping out and documenting the crop circles. But, they might be everywhere. They might be places where nobody's flying or walking into the field, so we never hear about them.
Yes, that is a very good point.
Yes, it was a very good point. You mentioned it, but I agree more. And you also mentioned the Julia set, which was in 1996 at Stonehenge. That formation, that sacred geometry Fibonacci sequence that was flawless, happened in the middle of the day, broad daylight, when thousands of people were visiting Stonehenge. The pilot that flies over every 20 minutes on a regular basis all day long. He said that when he flew over, there was no crop circle. 20 minutes later on the flight back, there was a brand new crop circle, which was that Fibonacci sequence, which is really incredible.
It's one of my all-time favourite crop circle formations, right opposite Stonehenge. Like you said, hundreds upon hundreds of people were surrounding Stonehenge. It was a Sunday afternoon. And this formation just went down in a matter of seconds. Now, I know Lucy Pringle, who we're going to have on as a future guest, she has collated together a whole load of reports from passers-by going along the very busy A303, the road from London to Exeter, and she has collated reports where people were pulling over into the road all of a sudden late on that Sunday afternoon to see this amazing formation, which wasn't there just a few moments earlier. And it brings up a point that somebody has mentioned here on our Facebook page, a question that's coming through. It's Anthony, and I don't think he'll mind us saying that he's very sceptical about the whole crop circle phenomena.
Well, we do like to hear both sides.
Yeah, of
just to be
course, of
fair.
course.
Yep.
He wasn't listening to our show, but he's now decided to tune in. So thank you, Anthony.
Hello,
And
Anthony.
Thank you, Anthony, for your input, giving your sceptical viewpoint on this. And one of the points you did raise was saying that there's no credible evidence of these crop circles appearing within a matter of seconds. Well, Patty has already described about an event from 1996, which crop circle researchers, some of them are saying is true, some of them are saying no, it's not, it was a hoax. But one thing that you cannot get away from the fact is that this Stonehenge event from July 1996 was absolutely amazing. The security men at Stonehenge did not see a thing. So this suggests that the formation went down in a matter of seconds. And you're talking about, I think it's something like 80 odd crop circles, all in an amazing sequence, and they spiral around and diminish in size. All the sightseers at Stonehenge suddenly see this crop circle, which wasn't there just a few moments earlier. So really, Anthony, I'd like to know what your viewpoint is, just purely on that one formation, the Stonehenge events from 1996.
Well, again, going back to us last year on Milk Hill, I was walking alongside up Milk Hill because I went to get a better vantage point to photograph a crop circle that you were in. From above up Adam's Graveway, which is the highest point of Wiltshire, all along Milk Hill. And I mean, I was gone for hours, wasn't I? I was up there. I did not see this flower formation. Bob Boyd went in there.
Later on the Sunday afternoon, the chairman of the Plymouth UFO Research
Group. We came out about just before 1 o'clock. He went in just after 1 o'clock, and there was this flower formation exactly where I had been, and
and you were crying out all Sunday morning. Wouldn't it be lovely to have a flower formation?
Yes, but I was there photographing the area, and it wasn't there. Otherwise, I'd be photographing that and not the older crop circle that we were in the farmer that owns Eastfield, which incidentally didn't have a crop circle this year. Last year, first time ever.
Eastfield did not have a crop circle in it.
But that went down within a matter of.
It's been a matter of moments, seconds. Well, the eyewitness accounts. It's a good point that Anthony raises.
Because it was a German couple that went in just after 1 o'clock, wasn't it? And we left just
couple went in
before 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I think they might well have been the first ever couple to go into that formation. It's a good point that Anthony mentions, saying where is the evidence on film or on camera of crop circles forming, and obviously you have already mentioned the 1996 event, Patty, but I would also like to mention and I'm sure you're familiar with this one, Patty, is the July the 7th of 2007. An amazing event took place there, and again I'd like to know what Anthony's viewpoint is on this, but I think I'll leave this for you, Patty, to explain to our listeners.
7707, I was there.
You was there? You was in the formation? Yeah, I went into that formation, and the farmer, who I've known over the years, she came running into the formation with me, because I was unaware of what actually happened, the fact that it was caught on film. She came running in saying, Martin, we've got it all on camera. So I'll leave you to explain to our listeners exactly what happened.
Well, I think I'd rather again do an overall scope, which is that we have more than enough footage. We have more than enough documentation, but there's something between us and the press that goes out to the world where there's just a big glitch that doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. At the event I was just at, Nick Pope, who worked 21 years at the British government's Military of Defense, his specialty was investigating UFO reports. He stated there's more than 50,000 pages documenting outstanding sightings with details. But still we are told there's no solid proof. That's really my answer. The only problem is between the truth and the press and the public, there's a glitch. And I really don't even want to take our special, precious time going into debunking. With all due respect to Anthony, I don't blame you. And someday soon, I really hope that your mind will be changed by something wonderful that you get to see. I think that the people that want to see it, that are open to it, will, and those that really don't want to, won't. It's kind of like when you get on a horse and you're scared, they know it. But when you get on a horse and you telepathically or energetically say, oh my God, what a beautiful beast, and a beautiful animal, and I want to ride with you, then you flow with the horse. My opinion is that the ETs are very much the same, strictly telepathic. What you feel, they know. What you think, they know. So if we go out and shoot at them because Hollywood told us to, well, that might have ugly consequences. But if we can stand there in awe and be in amazement, then they will most likely show us that too. I have been around so many people that know. They don't believe, they don't think UFOs are real. They have had experiences. Both of you have had experiences. I have had experiences, and I feel so blessed. But I don't blame anybody who hasn't yet, or who doesn't remember, who says, it's absolutely not true and I'm not going to believe it. You know, I understand. It's so much easier than my life.
Seeing is believing.
Well, talking about this glitch that you say about the media, I mean, and the 2007 event of that amazing formation in Eastfield, I went to the press conference, which happened just a few days after that formation appeared. The press conference was done in the Coronation Hall in the village of Alton Barnes, just down the road, obviously, from Eastfield, where this amazing event took place. I stood at the back of Coronation Hall, and the place was packed out with photographers, journalists, TV camera crews from all the major BBC news networks, the BBC, ITV. And I was standing to my ex-wife, who was there, standing next to me, and I said to her, not one shred of this will ever make it out into the media. And no, it did not.
They can't explain it though, so if they can't explain it, then they're not going to report on it. They're just going to say it's Doug and Dave with the cider and the ball.
They didn't even mention that.
The boards of wood.
Yeah, but they didn't even play on the hoax thing. It was a blanket cover. It just never made any part of the news whatsoever. Again, the D notice. I do appreciate what you're saying there, that you don't really want to waste your time talking about the whole debunking thing, because time is precious. We want to talk about the magical mystery of the genuine phenomena.
Now, one thing I would like to mention, and I find this absolutely fascinating, is the phenomena of ghost circles. Now, these are crop circles that come up, especially ones that have been mown out, that seem to regrow in the crop the year after.
Yeah. I like the ones where, remember the Avebury Avebury Manor. In 2007, it was that huge orbit. It had all the orbiting planets, but Pluto was missing.
Yes, I spent many an hour in that formation.
So, you and I have got to know each other. You have to send me a photo, because I was at the back of the room in Coronation Hall. I probably brushed your shoulder.
Yeah.
And I was also at that cropsicle. The morning it happened, I flew over it in the afternoon. Luckily, I'm one of the only photographers who got gorgeous images. I came in again that night, and I came in a back way by myself in a skirt and sandals, dumbest thing in the world. And by the time I got to the center, it was just twilight. I was covered with big black spiders and had to throw my clothing off.
Oh, dear.
Covered with spiders. Now, I'm a girl. That doesn't resonate. And I slowly picked them off one by one. That's so not me. I don't know what happened, but that formation, you and I spent some time. And the next day, we woke up and the farmer had mowed this big white stripe through the center of it. And he thought, And what did the circle makers do the next day or the day after? They spit his field full of little formations. And when I saw the photos from the airplane, my first reaction was sloppy, careless. And then I went in it. And it wasn't sloppy or careless at all. It was meticulous. It was immaculate. And there was one area, I took more photos than any other crop circle of all the centerpieces in the different areas, because it was remarkable, the additions. And there's this one place where all the wheat is down, except there's this centerpiece that comes up, and a flower, hot pink, was blooming at the top.
Oh, wow.
Now, how would a microwave set from a human laser, military, whatever, I'm just throwing it out laughing, but how would they miss the flower and get everything else? I don't know. So I want to talk about a beautiful story, and this is in 2010. I had made 4 movies. I had been so screwed by distributors, 1, 2, and 3, that I just said, I'm done making movies. I cannot do this anymore financially. This is ridiculous. So I had this wonderful boyfriend, and I said, I'm taking you to the crop circles. So I took him in 2010 and 2011. But the first year we went, I said, I want to leave the camera home and just play. He said, no, I'll carry it on my back. You got this great pack. And I said, no, you don't understand. They will make me make a movie. And he said, and I said, no, I'm serious. I really want to go on vacation. I want to do fun things, and I don't want to work and make a movie. He brings the camera. So we get there, and we're having this amazing time. And I don't know, Abbie, when you said braided and woven, my favorite crop circle ever, and I don't know if you were in it, 2008, the Avebury Truslow. with those unbelievable centerpieces.
Oh yes, I got them all on camera.
You and I have got to know each other. We've been in all the same places at the same time. So that was my favorite formation ever. Was it yours?
No, my favourite formation ever. It was a lovely formation. Don't get me wrong, but my favourite formation ever is the 2001 Milk Hill formation, 409 crop circles. I spent an entire Sunday afternoon and into Sunday evening in that formation.
That's
absolutely
the
mind
picture
blowing.
we've got up on
It's
line at the
funnily
minute.
enough, something I do want to mention on this show, and it's amazing people's reactions tonight looking at this and what they've posted up. We've posted an aerial shot of this amazing formation from 2001. Comments are pouring in saying that it's photoshopped. It's saying it's clearly photoshopped. Now that to me shows just how amazing these formations are. If people believe that it's impossible for these to be man-made just by looking at this one aerial photograph. I mean, I spent hours and hours in this formation, but there are people out there today that thinks that this has been photoshopped, you know? It's mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. But that to me is fantastic, that people think it's photoshopped.
I mean, I'm an amateur photographer myself, and I work primarily in Photoshop, and I know my way around it. And to do that on Photoshop, I wouldn't even know where to begin. To be honest with you, that looks like a headache.
Yeah. But then imagine this being etched out into a crop field at night time. Let alone doing it on Photoshop.
My word, no, thank you. I'm going to leave it to the real circle makers to because obviously they're doing a great job at what they're doing. So,
so no, I think another question that came through, Patty, is what is your all-time favourite formation? So you're saying then it was this 2008 formation at Avebury, yes?
At Avebury,
with all those amazing, intricate woven designs in the centres.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I have a new favorite formation, and it was the one that I believe came to me as a message this summer. I was in America. I did not choose to spend thousands to go to the crop circles in 2012 because I had work to do here. So one night I had a friend spend the weekend, and she opened up her computer and said, "Oh my God, I've got to show you this artist. His name is Ariel, E-R-I-A-L, Ali." She opens up the computer and she shows me this image of this crystal castle city that made me cry. And I started shaking. She said, "Girl, what's going on?" And I said, "This is where they took me. I absolutely know this is where the ETs took me when I was taken out of the crop circle. Where is this place? Who is this artist? I absolutely have been here." So I'm looking at this painting or this rendering that Ariel did of the Crystal Castle City. And the colors are nothing of this world. They're ultraviolet, ultra pink, ultra blue. It's underwater, and I was there. And the Crystal Castle has rectangles and little stars, like little crescents on the top. Just a beautiful image. And I went to sleep, and I just knew. And I acknowledged that I finally remembered, because I had had a regression with Mary Rodwell in 2010, that this is where they took me, and I was absolutely sure. So I woke up in the morning, and I knew I was going to write this artist or call him and say, "Where is this place? I've been here." I get up in the morning, and I open up my computer, and I got my daily love letter from the Crop Circle Connector, and what they said was, "Here's the crop circle that happened last night while you slept." Well, when I had this experience with Victoria, who was one of the hybrid bombies of the Stan Romanek case, which you probably know, we looked at the Crystal Castle at 10 at night, which was 5 in the morning in the UK. Now, I don't know when the Crystal Castle happened, but when I saw the crop circle that happened while we were in America that night, it was a Crystal Castle. It was the Crystal Castle. And I was in tears again. And when Victoria came down for coffee, I said, "Look at the new crop circle." And she went, "Oh, it's the Crystal Castle." So I went through all the crop circles that were listed on the silencecircle.uk website, because on that one, you can just spin the visual to see all of them in a row. It's really lovely. I noticed that every single one had a circle except the Crystal Castle. It was rectangles and the little bits on top.
It was like teardrops, wasn't it, coming off the castle itself?
You've got it. Teardrops at the bottom representing, hello, underwater.
There you go.
And again, remember I said each person has their own perception of what they see? To me, the circle makers gave me a message that said, we're really glad you remember where you took us, where we took you, and thank you for acknowledging us. Here you go, confirmation. So
Again, that's an amazing connection.
That is an amazing connection. It seems to be happening more and more and more, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. People making these connections in very strange, bizarre ways that can personalise them to a specific crop circle. As what's happened there with you, Patty. That is an amazing experience.
I think it's all to do with intention, to be honest with you. What intentions you go there with, what intentions you have in life, and that is being mirrored within these crop circle connections.
Yeah, indeed. I just really want to put a record straight here with Anthony, or rather he wants to put the record straight.
Yeah, sure.
It might well be the final one here on the questions coming through on Facebook tonight. Just really a statement to put his side of things on. Earlier I alluded to him being a skeptic with the crop circle phenomena. So he's just really wants to come back to say, don't get me wrong, I do want them to be made by others. I just want to see some proof, just not stories and words from experts who study in a field in which has no proof. And then Rich Yelland has just then followed that up, saying, very true, to most people seeing is believing, which is what you said earlier,
Yes.
Abbie. And he goes on to say, you'll get your proof very soon.
What I suggest, Anthony, is I don't know where in the country you live, or if you're actually in the UK, but if you can, get yourself to Wiltshire this summer and go and experience for yourself, because that is the only way you will truly know. I mean, you can believe whatever you want to believe, or you can believe whatever you don't want to believe. As I think Patty touched on it, there's believing and there's knowing.
Yeah.
So get out to Wiltshire, and I tell you what, don't believe anything anybody says. Go and find out for yourself.
Yes, that's a good point. And one thing that we do like to reiterate on this show is don't always take our word for it. Go away and do your own research, and then obviously come to your own conclusions. You can either agree with us or not agree with us. The best thing is to use your own free will to make up your own mind based on your own investigations.
I mean, that's all we're here, is to bring us some amazing guests and bring you the information. What you guys do with it is really up to you, and I hope you do well with it, though. And good luck, Anthony, if you do manage to get out to Wiltshire.
Yes, you'll have an amazing time.
You will have them. It was my first year last year, and to be honest with you, I'm still scratching my head over it. I'm still in bewilderment and amazement, but I can't wait to go back.
That was the Crystal Castle formation. I really want to finish the story.
Yes, of course.
It gets even more wonderful. I told you that I looked and I said it's the only crop circle all summer with no circle.
Yes.
The very next day, phase 2.
Oh, wow. It was a two-phase formation.
On top of the Crystal Castle, with the tears or the drops of water below, 3 times the size was a huge circle, and inside it was a goddess.
Oh, wow.
Day 3, actually it was day 4, it took 2 days, she opened her arms.
Amazing. I don't think I've actually... Could you pull that one up on the computer, Martin, for me to have a look at? Because I don't think I've actually... Not one of the ones I've seen. I don't think I have seen that formation.
It happened in a little village called Stanton St Bernard, which is just along from Milk Hill.
Yeah.
Very close to where the flower formation was. In fact, perhaps 2 or 3 fields over towards the direction of Devizes.
Is that the one we saw with the one we couldn't go into? The farmer had closed the field off,
No,
and we'd photographed it from a height.
that was towards Allington. That was like the big sword formation.
Yes, that was right, yeah.
A little village called Allington. But so it had been in between Allington and Milk Hill.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do, Patty, is after the show tonight, I will go on to the Crop Circle Connection website, pull that picture up, and get it up on the Facebook page, so our listeners can truly see the crop circle that you're talking about there.
I was astounded, and you know, for me, it really just kind of solidified me like an acupuncture point on the planet.
Yeah.
I have one more story to share that I think really takes it over the top and puts this research in a whole new field. And Charles at the Silent Circle said to me, "This is the most astounding story I've ever heard."
Brilliant.
In 2010, I was starting to tell you, I went with my boyfriend to England and I said, I want to leave the camera home or they'll make me make a movie.
Yeah.
So we'd been dating 2 years. It was really wonderful. And we get over there and we are doing that Avery Treslow crop circle starting at 6 in the morning so that nobody would be in it.
Yeah.
And then we go to the Silent Circle to relax and have coffee. We're sitting outside, beautiful day, and, you know, people are starting to trickle in. All of a sudden, I see these two guys fall out of their van, literally fell out of their van and started walking toward the Silent Circle front. And they were stumbling, and their faces were really red, and they were staring at the ground. They looked very out of it. And they got close enough, I kind of jumped up and said, "Are you guys okay?" The guy lifts his head, looks into my eyes, and said, "Oh, what we saw last night."
Hey.
I said, "Honey, get them coffee, please." He sits down. These two guys are from Belgium. He said, "We were on a night watch over East Field, and we were hoping to see, you know, a crop circle being made, but we didn't see anything, so we crawled into the camper van and went to sleep. Later in the night, we heard these French people coming upstairs, coming up the hill, all excited, and they spoke French, so they heard them talking about these bright orange balls of light over East Field. And there was a crop circle down there already. So this is July 29th, 2010. So the French people see this, and they're all excited. So these two guys from Belgium get out of the camper van, get their jackets on, put on their headlamps, and they start to head down the hill. They said they sat down for 5 minutes, and all of a sudden, these big, bright, deep, bright orange balls of light showed up, and they could see odd dimensions in them. And all of a sudden, they saw a big black band that became a doorway, and out of it came an illuminated light being with arms, legs, and a head.
Wow.
The being turned around, reached in the doorway, and pulled out a second being. And these two guys are sitting here completely frozen on the hill in shock. So they have this experience, then the balls of light disappear, and then they come back again with the illuminated light beams, and they can see the whole thing. And then they went away. Well, these guys were so out of it. I met them probably 4 or 5 hours after their sighting. So I said, "I'm really trying not to make a movie, but can I interview you behind the church?" So I took them back there, and I interviewed them. And of course, we were talking about ridiculously effortless. Right before we left the Silent Circle, my friend and I, to go and see some more formations, the Belgian guys said, "Oh, there comes the French people." So of course, I walked up and said, "Did you really see them?" And they said, "Yes, it's absolutely true. We don't know what they were, but we saw them."
Wow.
So I said, "I'm really trying not to make a movie, but can I interview you behind the church?" And it was like a perfect backdrop. Or it wasn't a backdrop, it was a place. I mean, it was just gorgeous. Ancient stone stairs, I mean, it's perfect. So I'm trying not to make a movie, but they laid out the most unbelievable interview also. The next day, we went to Glastonbury to a friend's wedding. And because we were driving a few hours to Glastonbury, I said, "Let's stop at the Roundaway crop circle because it's on the way." And, you know, when you're in the crop circles, which you probably know, Martin, we get so stubborn because there's so many right there in Avebury that we rarely go an hour, hour and a half to see a crop circle that's a slight distance. So since I was going to Glastonbury, we went to the Roundaway formation.
Oh, yeah.
And it was really beautiful, the image. So we climbed the hill into the farm, and I said to my boyfriend, "Please leave the camera in the car." And he goes, "Nope, we're taking it." So we climb the hill, we get in, and I hear these children giggling, laughing. It was so lovely. So I said to the mother, "Can we interview your children?" Of course, they all speak Dutch. They're from Belgium. And she said, "But I can translate." So I said, "Would you ask the children what they think of this beautiful formation we're in?" So they do this chatter in Dutch, and the mother looks into the camera and says, my daughter, who's like a beautiful blonde, blue-eyed 5-year-old, maybe, just beautiful little child with a funny missing teeth. And the child was talking quite a bit, and the mom said, she doesn't want to talk about this crop circle. She wants to talk about the one we were in Eastfield the other day, where she communicated with orange balls of light. My poor boyfriend was so freaked out. He gave me one of those big eyes, mouth hanging on his chest, like, holy crap, I can't believe this is happening looks. So the child also then says, they told me the crop circle's going to get bigger. It's not done yet.
Wow.
It's like, oh my God. A young child just said, the circle breakers told her the crop circle's not done yet, and it's on film. Holy crap. So we go to the wedding, and then we have a dinner after the wedding, and we meet Eddie from Holland at the end of the table. I'd never met him before. And I said, Eddie, what do you do? He said, I do automatic writing. I close my eyes, spirit takes my arm and writes through me. I said, really? Have you written anything interesting lately? He goes to his back pocket, slaps out his book on the table, opens it up, and right there before our eyes is the formation with added elements and the big word orange written beautifully. The next word is yes, and then there's questions and answers. Eddie says, I was in this crop circle the other day in Eastfield. My boyfriend slams his foot on my foot under the table, and he's completely ready to leave Europe and never see me again.
Oh dear. That is an amazing.
That is an
amazing encounter, an amazing story.
What was the crop circle added to as well?
The next day, and Eddie also said on camera, they told me the crop circle's not done yet. So even in my movie trailer, which anybody can see on YouTube, I show this whole story and the 3 phases of that formation.
Wow.
The next day it was bigger, and then 3 days later, August 3rd, it was really big. It looked like, to me, a scorpion. I don't know what the message was to everybody else. I was so freaked out, that it really did happen like the 5-year-old little girl said. And then Eddie, and he'd even sketched the additional elements before they happened. So I get home to America, and I'm like, I'm not making another movie. I'm not going to spend all this money. So I kind of shelved it for a while. But finally, I pulled it out a year later, and I was like, I got to do this. So I learned to edit myself. I got to make this movie. So I wrote to all these people that I had interviewed, and I said, do you have any photos to back up your story? All of them said no. I remembered that Monique Kliekenberg from Holland and I were both doing Night Watch in 2008 overlooking Eastfield, and we both had photos of orange balls of light. I called her in Holland. I said, Monique, send me your photos. Remember that night? And she said, yeah. So I look at hers, I look at mine, and son of a gun, these orange balls of light had so much detail and a black doorway band.
Wow.
When the ball spun sideways, it was cut out like a piece of pie. My photos, I should send you for your website, are friggin' shocking.
Oh yeah, that would be absolutely brilliant.
I sent these photos to the people in England, Scotland, and I'm sorry, wrong. The photos to the people in Holland, Belgium, and France. And all of them wrote back. I woke up the next morning because you're 7 and 8 hours ahead. All of them wrote, those are absolutely them. Where'd you get those photos? Were you there that night? Nope. Same location 2 years earlier. Same orange balls of light. So I send the movie when it's finished over to all my witnesses. And the guys that saw the illuminated light beams, he calls me on the phone. He said, my eyes don't lie. It's just my rational mind that tries to find a rational explanation. Patty, I remembered the dream where they showed me how they come in and out of the world. I said, what? I said, please tell me. He said, I had the dream right before you woke me up at the camper van and asked me to meet you at the Silent Circle for an interview. I said, I didn't come to your camper van. I was at the Silent Circle, and you fell out of your van there. And he said, no, you woke me up. And I said, no, I wasn't there. He said, yeah, And I said, tell me about the dream. He said, the illuminated light beings wanted me to see how they come in and out of the world. So they put their arms up in the sky, and they started spinning really fast like those Russian dancers. And they disappeared. Now, Charles, who owns the Silent Circle, had been saying to me when he knew I was finally in production making this movie, he called me up and he said, he Skypes me, and he said, you got to interview this girl. She saw the illuminated light beings from the other side of Eastfield, and you know this area. She and two men were on the top of Silbury Hill. And we know we're not supposed to be going up Silbury Hill. She said, I couldn't talk to you while you were making the movie because I have 3 children to protect and I'm not going public with this story.
Yeah.
I was, girl, you're killing me here. What did you see? She said, now that your movie's gone to print, I'll tell you the truth. I was up on Silbury Hill with these 2, my mate and another man, and there were these 3 noisy teenagers behind us up on the top of Silbury Hill on July 29, 2010. The cloud came over toward them like the mist, and all of a sudden, out of the cloud fall these 2, not fall, but they dropped down and came toward them, these 2 bright balls of light, bright orange, with lots of detail. She said the guys left and right of her were completely freaked out, so she was gripping their hands tight, reminding them to stay calm. She said she looked over her shoulder at the teenagers that were silent, and they were laid out on the ground under some kind of black fabric. She said it looked like thicker than a plastic bag. You could slightly see through it, but it was black, and they were out. The balls of light came toward them, and she said next thing she knew, the whole base of Silbury Hill was surrounded by these illuminated beings with arms, legs, and a head. Now, she did not know what I had in this movie or anything about the people that I interviewed. She says to me, we watched them for a very long time around the base of Silbury Hill, and all of a sudden, ready for this?
Yep.
They lift their arms, started spinning like those Russian dancers, and disappeared.
Wow. What can you... I mean, I'm speechless with that encounter. There's really nothing I can say.
No, that is an amazing account. It seems no matter where you go in Wiltshire, it is just a place that has just an amazing connection to these other realms and other dimensions where these higher intelligences or even future apparitions of ourselves are coming through and
interacting
and bridging the void.
Yeah, but sitting next to me here is John. He's been sitting here very patiently and very quiet, listening to everything here. Just want to see what John's reaction is to that last encounter that Patty's just described. What was your feelings to that story?
Well, I think it's absolutely incredible, really, to be honest with you. Again, speechless. What can you say to that?
You had to endure me and Martin coming back telling you what happened in Wiltshire and how manic and we were. And
yeah, I think as you say, seeing is believing.
It's
hard to take it in from another, point of view, really, to be honest.
Yeah. But an absolutely amazing encounter that. And that was from 2010. July 2010. Again, I was there that weekend. The last weekend in July 2010, I was there in Wiltshire. If I'd gone to Silbury Hill that night, I would have witnessed that truly spectacular phenomena.
There you go. You said no, it hasn't happened in Wiltshire like that before. It has. It's just you've not been paying attention.
Yeah, I wasn't in that specific location.
No.
I was further down towards, I think I might have been down towards Stonehenge on that particular night, possibly.
Well, I want to say that I did document the whole story, and that movie is called 4 Stories, 1 Event, Other Worlds. On my website, I have 5 movies, and on YouTube, I have the first 15 minutes of each movie for free where you can watch it. And the 4 Stories, 1 Event, Other Worlds, the first 15 minutes on YouTube, everybody and their mother and their dog need to watch it because these guys lay it out, and I show the 3 phases to you, and it's documented.
Wow.
I mean, it is all documented, and I really honor and respect the people that are just coming into the field or just beginning to really wake up to what's really going on. And I think that there's 2 obvious problems between truth and what is the supposed reality. The problem we're having as a species right now is that the press is bought and paid for, so we're not going to get the information that's going to help us evolve. And so Hollywood also is supported by these same corporate people that are putting huge amounts of money into their 2012 movie, is that we're all going to die and watch our children bleed to death. My 2012 movie called 2012 are already in it, that won Best Feature Film at the International UFO Congress, is positive, and I filmed it in 2008. Every single thing has happened, has played out. The people that are going into crop circles and sacred sites and really doing research about advanced technology and free energy, all of us really know that we do have enough proof. We have enough documentation. We have enough of everything right here, right now, to prove without a shadow of a doubt that all of this is true, is happening right now.
And will continue to happen.
And it's going to be building more and more until they just break the gates down. You know, if humans continue to act this badly, chemtrailing and all the dumbing down of humans and killing millions of people with all the bad food, bad water, all the stuff that for some reason people in charge are adding, we got real problems here. But the ETs are going to put their celestial foot down and say, you know what, it's time for a major sighting over every city, and we're going to sit there and darken the whole city until those who don't believe run out of ammunition and stop shooting.
This is very, very true.
We're going to sit here and wait. But, you know, for us, it's not like we're judging anybody who's judging us. This is a teamwork situation. And, you know, we really are one big, interconnected, galactic world. And there's so many more galaxies with human life. And I know that's hard to believe, that there's life anywhere else other than our extremely amazing selves.
Well, I mean, it's sheer arrogance just to think that we're the only intelligent life forms in this infinite universe.
I think just the oxymoron of saying intelligent life is funny right there.
Well, yeah, human beings, intelligent life. Well, we are becoming intelligent because our consciousness is growing. And as you said earlier in the show, it seemed to have snowballed and picked up pace over the past 2 or 3 years alone. And hopefully that is only going to pick up more pace and more people are going to become aware to every possibility in the reality we live in and the reality that we are being told that exists.
Well, I think that my movies pretty much are being called the most advanced crop circle documentaries to date, because I'm not focusing on the pretty patterns or where they're located or the history of what happened 20, 30 years ago. It's really about what is happening in the field, what we are feeling head to toe. There is no doubt that it's not only in the formation, but 10, 20 feet out, the hair still stands up on your arm. This envelope that surrounds the crop circles is really protecting it and honoring the sacred energy within. And, you know, you guys have been there. He's been there quite a lot.
Definitely.
There are not a lot of bad people or angry people, or certainly there's very few non-believers. But when we talk about the debunkers or the crop circle human crop circle makers, many of those people are seeing. You call them the shadow ones with the hoods.
Yeah.
I know. For me, it's the people I talk to, it's about the balls of light, but I have heard about the shadow people. And, you know, we want to thank those people for softening the blow on humanity by going public with the human-made crop circles, but that's really not the big story. And when we get to the real big story that, you know, disclosure is going to happen, the veil will fall, when everybody gets to be a part of this, not just the pioneers of the new paradigm. It is going to be the most blissful, peaceful place. And there's going to be no tolerance for greed or fraud, because all of us are going telepathic, like it or not. We are going to see each other for who we are, which will really delete the ability to get away with anything. And you know what they say about people who lie? The hardest part is remembering what you said last time.
Yeah.
That's not going to be happening. We are moving, I believe, into a time where the ETs are going to communicate more. You know, at this point, the physicists were saying at the UFO Congress that here we are trying to measure ET communication. Oh my God, Charles Mallet, is actually incoming, calling you right now.
Hello, Charles Mallet. What a coincidence.
Hi, Charles.
Actually, do you want me to add him to the company? No, you need to be warned.
Just to remind our listeners who Charles Mallet is, he runs the Crop Circle Information Centre right in the heart of Wiltshire, which has also got a cafe associated to it. Lovely cakes that they do there.
Lovely sandwiches too.
Yeah, lovely sandwiches. It's a lovely place to go and visit, and they sell various Crop Circle merchandise. And Charles Mallet himself had an amazing Crop Circle experience in 1999, just below Milk Hill, very close to the flower formation that you psyched up, Abbie, from last summer. He saw this amazing orange ball of light. Probably haven't got enough time to go into details about that, but he was meditating in this crop circle, and there was this amazing orange ball of light, again similar to the orange balls of light that Patty's been talking about around Silbury Hill.
And the ones we saw at the top of Eastfield that were doing kind of like an infinite sign. They were doing the infinity sign with the sidewards 8 pattern.
Exactly. So it's good Charles Mallet is tuning in.
It is. Hello, Charles. Now, I'd just like to list your films that you've made for our listeners. We will put it up on the website as well. Is The Wake Up Call Is Anybody Listening? UFOs, ETs, Abductees and Brilliant Minds. 2012, we are already in it. Crop Circles 2010 update, The Wake Up Call. And 4 stories, 1 event, Other Worlds. And now for the future, conferences and public speaking.
I have got a really wonderful year shaping up. Every time I open my mouth, something good seems to happen. So, I'm going to be speaking in Denver at 2 weeks for the Body, Mind, Spirit Celebration, which is the biggest metaphysical fair in my state of Colorado. And a month later in Colorado Springs, which is a town that I rarely like to go through because it's a huge military installation.
Yes, we know the feeling.
Again, one person at a time, if we can help people put their minds around the magic and major gorgeousness of these crop circles enough to allow whatever it is in them to get into their hearts, minds, and souls, then I've done my job. And that's really what we're doing here. When people say, oh, you're just doing it to make money, you crop circle people, if they had any idea.
Well, I mean, it's like this show. We have to pay to put it on. We don't get paid. We actually go out of pocket on it. But it's not about the money. It's bringing information and helping people just to look at things in a different light, in a different perspective.
Well, just to be able to walk in a crop circle, to get our bodies into them and have this experience, like I said earlier, doesn't get a whole lot better.
No, it doesn't.
I urge when people when I talk to them about crop circles, they say, well, yes, but what about this, what about that? I then shut up and I'll say, forget everything I've said, just get yourself to Wiltshire and get yourself in a crop circle. I'll say no more, and I'll leave them to it. It tends to shut them up.
And unfortunately, we're going to have to call it a night tonight. It is 11:30. We have gone half an hour over. Thank you so much, Patty Greer, for coming on tonight. You'll have to keep us updated how your talk goes in 2 weeks, and also of any future developments. And we'd love to get you back on the show in the future.
It would be my pleasure. And can I tell you about my upcoming film?
You can indeed. Go for it.
Okay, I filmed it, of course, in your neighborhood, and I went to a fairy festival in the Cotswolds.
Oh, yes.
And so, and I was taken by the Green Man of Avebury, and I went into a fairy glen in near Barbary Castle. But basically, when I came back to America, I lived in a very remote high mountain place, and all I did was communicate with wildlife. So I interviewed deer, elk. I interviewed so many wild animals, everybody but the bears. And the new movie is about the elemental wisdom of the new earth.
Wow.
And it's called telepathic wildlife, people who believe they are fairies. And I interviewed the queen of the elves.
Wow.
These are people who live this life and believe that they are. So you know what? I'll put them on camera because the elemental wisdom that came out of these people was astounding.
Wow, I look forward to seeing that one.
Yeah, well, we must have you on in a future show to discuss this very subject in more in depth, because that's something I know our listeners would love to hear about, the elementals.
Something that you've just said has just pricked Martin's ears right up and just gone, what?
Yes,
With something that
there was a
we've
certain
experienced.
connection that we made whilst we was in Wiltshire last summer.
Again, Avesbury, it
with
totally...
Avebury and Barbary Castle, there was a connection with one of the elementals you've just mentioned. And very quickly, have you ever been to St Nectan's Glen down in Cornwall?
That's where I filmed the fairy film.
Really?
Really?
Because I said to Abbie several months ago, if ever fairies existed, they live right there in St Nectan's
Do
Glen.
you know, we were only talking about this on the phone last night as
We
well.
actually mentioned St Nectan's Glen
We
on the
were.
phone last night. Yeah, we did.
Can I tell you my St. Nectan's Glen story?
Yes, go for it
go on,
quickly.
yes.
I'm hiking up. I've got the only thing I knew about my camera was don't get it wet. So I put a tarp over myself because, you know, it's always raining. So I got this tarp over my head and over my body, the camera strapped around my chest. And I have a rule, I shouldn't hike alone, but I hiked to St. Nectan's Glen because I had to see it, they said.
Yeah.
So I hike all the way up, and it's so darn beautiful that I'm filming all along the way, and I'm a brand new filmmaker who doesn't know her camera. So I finally get to St. Nectan's Glen. You go down the slippery stairs, and you can hear it, but you have to walk on these stones in a river and pray you don't fall. So I do the walk, and oh God, it's so beautiful. It crisscrosses into the pool at the bottom. It's magic. And I lift the camera up, turn it on, and I had used up the battery.
Oh.
I was like, you must be kidding. So I tiptoed back, and I was like, I've got my spare battery. Oops, but I forgot the cable to connect it to the camera. So I'm like, crap. So I stick on the battery that was almost dead. I thought it was dead. And I tiptoed back out to the St. Nectan's Glen, lifted the camera, turned it on, and it gave me just enough to film it. And I got the St. Nectan's Glen waterfall. It is so magnificent. You guys live in heaven.
It's literally 45 minutes drive from where we live to get there. It's an amazing
somewhere
place.
I've never been. It's somewhere I've never managed to find, but it's somewhere I do want to go, especially after a conversation with the manager of the...
at the place at Tintagel.
That's right, yes, the Hall of Chivalry, yes, and that is somewhere that I recommend that you go as well for the energy. It is built on the Merlin line, which intersects with the Michael's line, and also the people come from all over the world to actually stand in this one point of this hall because it's made with sacred geometry, all the different types of granite sourced from all over England, and this one spot is to give you this energy that you'd receive in a crop circle. The only way I can describe it, it's that same feeling. But I definitely suggest that it's somewhere that you go and visit, and the manager in there is absolutely brilliant. He's a wealth of knowledge, and he's made so many connections between artists and what they're trying to convey, and everything that we've been talking about tonight.
I was there.
You were there. You've been there.
I talked to the owner of the castle and got the tour and the art and the whole... Oh, no, it's magnificent.
It is
so
beautiful, isn't it?
If your lines lit up when I mentioned fairies, elves, and elemental wisdom and telepathic wildlife, I am seriously seeking an executive producer for this film. The only reason it's not done is that I need somebody to get behind this film and be an executive producer and give us a hand up. So I'm glad people are excited about this because it is real and I want to bring it to the public. I'm calling it a movie for children, but it's for children of all ages because telepathically the animals aren't saying, la la la, I eat grapes. They are saying, they look up at a chemtrail and the deer goes right into the camera. Really? You don't think we know what you're doing?
Well, I'm glad they do, because most people don't.
Yeah, we've mentioned chemtrails many times in the show, trying to bring awareness out there of what's really going on above our skies, and it is frightening. That's again for another show, another day, I think.
Just one thing I would like to add, just before we go. I was looking at a UFO website the other week in preparation for this show, and also with talking with Mike Oram next week. And someone has posted up there that they saw a UFO, and it was a rainbow, which was not part of any other rainbow, and it was just hanging there in the middle of the sky, and they were saying that they saw this UFO rainbow. Of course, I looked at it, and I knew exactly what it was straight away. It was a Kembo. It was the light 45-degree angle coming through, and but people are putting these down to UFOs when they're not. It's part of these chemicals that are being sprayed into the air.
Yeah, a frightening scenario.
It is. Who's that?
Let's see. Oh, there is something coming through on Facebook. Just very
quickly. Last one then, guys.
Right, no, sorry, there's something about poltergeist activity, so it's off subject. It's something about Haunted Devon, more linked to Haunted Devon.
Okay. Well, we'll answer that one off air then. Yeah. Unfortunately, guys, we have run out of time tonight, so we have gone over again. I apologise to Chris, the producer. He's just going to have to give us 2 hours, isn't he? I mean,
he has to.
They've bunked us up from half an hour to an hour and a half. Now we're going for the 2 hour slot. What can I say?
Experiencers in a room together, good luck getting us to stop telling stories.
Well, this is it. I mean, what was it the other night? We ran over till like the early hours of the morning.
We went well past midnight.
We did.
Show.
Unfortunately, I would love to, but I can't go it tonight because I've got to be up first thing in the morning to go to work. That's the only dead downside. I'd like to thank Patty Greer for coming on the show tonight. We wish you all the luck with your future project, and also anyone who wants to get involved with that, the link to Patty's website is up on our Facebook page. And Patty, if you could just give it to us once again.
Yes, if you're dialing in your computer from another country, it would be http://www.pattyGreer.com.
Brilliant. You've been listening to...
It was a lot of fun.
Oh, it's been absolutely
good.
great.
You've been a fantastic guest for us tonight. It's been brilliant.
So many experiences. I mean, there's me going to Wiltshire last year thinking, oh my God, all that. But it's so nice to know as well that so many other people have had so many astounding experiences there. It just kind of almost validates my own experience for me, if that makes sense. You've been listening to Haunted Devon, independent radio for independent listening. We'll be back next Monday night with Mike Oram. That should be another interesting and long-running show, I should imagine.
He's one of Britain's top ufologists. He's written one of my all-time favourite UFO books, Does It Rain in Other Dimensions? A fantastic UFO book. Which
I am halfway through, I might add. I'm getting through it. I'm going to leave you now with a bit of space.
Yeah, keeps it with the theme.
It does keep it with the theme. We will see you next Monday.
Thank you, Patty. Good night.
Good night, guys.
Bye, world.